Okay, 5th graders, today is Tuesday, October 8th, and we are doing Eureka Math Module 2, and we're continuing right on to do Lesson 4. Today what we're going to do is we're going to use what we know about unit form, or thinking about how we can think of numbers using different units, and using that to help us multiply multi-digit numbers, okay? I'm teaching you different mental strategies or different ways to think about multiplying numbers so that it becomes easier for you. But actually, we're going to come back to this problem at the end of the day, because today, the strategy I'm going to teach you is related to this problem, okay? And we're going to see how we can use our strategy to solve it in a different way. I'm sure a lot of you guys already solved it this way, and maybe even drew a tape diagram, yes? But at the end of the lesson, as I teach you the lesson, you're going to say, oh, I know another way to do it, okay? If I have the problem 8 times 31, that's making 8 copies of 31, right? Or I could think of it as 31 copies of 8. Do you guys agree? What property says that I can switch the order? I can think of it as 8 times 31, or I can think of it as 31 times 8. Anirag? Good. The commutative property says I can commute the numbers from one position to the next, right? And the value stays the same. So I can think of this as 8 times 31, or I can think of it as 31 times 8. When I think of it as 31 times 8, I could think of it as 31 eighths. Do you guys agree? Okay. So if I give Violet 30 eighths, what's the unit again? Eighths. How many of them does she have? 30. Let's say I give her one more. How many does she have now?
31.
31, because she had 30 before. So if I give her one more, she has 31. 31 of something. What are the units? Eighths. So that's the same thing as saying I have 31 eighths. Do you guys agree? If I gave Violet 31 eighths and I take 1 8 away, how many eighths does she have? 30 eighths. So here in this tape diagram, I've drawn 31 eighths. I showed you that there's 3 eighths there, dot, 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 some more eighths in between here, and it ends with an 8. And using the brackets, I've shown that it's 31 eighths. Right under it, I drew 8s again. Here's 1 8, another 8, dot, 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 some number of 8s here, it ends with 8s. But it's one fewer. You guys see there's an empty space there for one more 8. And underneath, using brackets, I showed that that was 30 eighths. Now, we could make this problem simpler by thinking, well, 31 is just one more than 30, right? If I gave Violet 31, but I took 1 away, she'd only have 30 left. Well, I know that 30 eighths is the same thing as 30 times 8. Do you guys agree? Yeah. And if I add one more 8, that's the same as 31 eighths, right? So I can think 31 is the same as 30 plus 1. So 31 eighths is the same as 30 eighths plus one more 8, right? Now, 30 eighths is the same thing as 30 times 8. And that's really easy for me to do because I know using math facts that 3 times 8 is 24. So 30 times 8 is 240. Yeah. And 1 times 8 is 8. So how much is 30 eighths? 240. How much is 31 eighths? It's just 1 8 more, or 8 more, so it's 348. Do you see how we can use mental strategies like that to help us? Sorry, 248. Thank you. Even though we're using mental strategies, though, we have to write out all of our thinking like what we did here. Okay, so we thought to ourselves, well, 31 eighths is the same as 30 eighths plus one more 8. And I know that 30 eighths is 240. If I add one more 8, that's just 8 more, because 1 8 is 1 times 8, or 8. Okay, let's try it with this other problem. We have 8 times 29 now. Well, I know using the commutative property, that's the same as 29 times 8. Right? So I can think to myself, 29 is really close to what number? 30. So I can think to myself, 29 eighths is the same as 30 eighths minus 1 8, right? So what I can do is I can draw a tape diagram. I can show that I have 8 here, I have 8 more here, I have 8 more here, dot, 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 just more 8s, right? More 8s here, more 8s here. Altogether, how many 8s do I have? Well, I'm going to say that I have 30 eighths here, okay? But 30 eighths is too many 8s. How many 8s is the problem telling me I actually need? 29. So actually I'm going to cross out one of them. I'm going to show that I don't want 30 eighths. I only want 29. So I'm going to take away one of the 8s. And I'm going to label that once I've taken it away, how many 8s are left? 29 eighths. Okay, so let me show you how we can show that using what we know. We know that 29 eighths is the same thing as 30 eighths minus 1 8. I can show 30 eighths in math by doing 30 copies of 8, right? And I need to take away 1 copy of 8 in order to make 29 eighths. Well, we know that 30 times 8 is 240. And we know that 1 times 8 is? 8. Because 240 is 30 eighths, and 8 is 1 8, right? So altogether, 29/8, which is 1 less than 30/8, is 232. And that's our final answer. Our learning goal says I can use what I know about unit form. In the past, we've done unit form as like tenths or hundredths or thousandths. This time our unit is not one of the place value positions. Our unit is whatever the problem tells us. In this case, it was eighths. Do you guys see that? Okay. Could it have been 8 copies of 31s, 8 31s instead? If it was 8 31s, what would have been our unit? 31s. So you can choose which one is going to be your unit and which one will be the one that you're making copies of. Okay? How come we chose 31 and 29? Because those were numbers that were close to 30. Let me show you a little bit more what I mean. If it says this, 49 times 20 equals 49 blanks, is 49 the unit, or is it telling you how many copies to make? How many copies? So what is the unit then? 20. Okay, good. Oh, that's a highlighter. So write down the numbers. 49 times 20 equals 49 20s. How come this problem decided to use 20 as the unit instead of 49? Maham?
Because since the other number would be 20, which is the number you'd be multiplying it 49 by, the units would be 20.
But how come I don't make it 20 49s and make the unit 49? Violet?
Because 20 would be easier to use than 49, because then you don't have to multiply.
Sakina?
It's easier to multiply.
Because 49 is really close to what number?
50.
So I can think to myself, this is the same as 50 20s, but do I really have 50 20s?
No.
I have 49. So that's 50 20s, but I have to take away 120. Let's draw that using a tape diagram. That means I have 50 20s altogether. You can see the unit is the one that I'm making copies of, right? And then I end with more 20s, okay? Altogether, I had 50 20s, but I don't want 50 20s. How many 20s do I really want? 49. So I'm going to take away one of them. I'm going to show that I have 49 20s. Okay. You have to choose which one is going to be your unit and which one's telling you which factor will be your unit and which factor will tell you how many copies of it that you're making. Make sense? So now let's complete the math. 50 20s, how do I write that as a math equation? 50 times 20. And then I want to take away 120, so how do I write that as a math expression? 1 times 20. Okay, what's 5 times 2?
10.
10. So how many additional factors of 10 do I have? 2. So I have 10, and then it's 100 times bigger, so I add 2 more zeros, right? Okay, and then I have to take away 20. So what's 1,000 minus 20?
980.
So what is 49 times 20? 980. When we have 12 times 98, we could think of this problem in 2 different ways. We could think of it as 12 98ths, right? If we think of it as 12 98ths, what is the unit? 98ths, good. And 12 is telling you how many copies. So what would that tape diagram look like? You would have a tape diagram like this, and each unit would be worth 98. And how many copies of that would you be making?
12.
Good. So this is what that tape diagram would look like. 12 98ths. Okay. Is that the only way to think of this problem?
No.
We can also think of this as 98 times 12, right? Which would be what? 98 12s. If we do that, what is the unit? 12s. And how many of those 12s do we have? 98. So what would that tape diagram look like? It would look like this. Each unit of your tape diagram is now 12, right? Instead of 98. And then how many copies of that are you making?
98.
Yeah, 98 12s. So for this question, then, my question is, which one is better? Which one's better? I could think of this 12 98ths as 10 98ths, and then I have to add 2 more 98ths, right? Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Right? Why? If you agree with me, why? Because I could do 10 98ths, which is what? 980. But then I really want 12 of them, right? So if I only gave you 10, I have to give you 2 more 98ths. What is 2 98ths? What's 2 times 90?
180.
What's 2 times 90? What's 2 times 8? So what's 180 plus 16? 196. Good. Okay, and then if we add those, we could find the total, right? What about over here? If I have 98 12s, is that pretty close to 100 12s?
Yeah.
Right? But is that not enough or is it too much? How many 12s too much is it?
2.
So how many 12s do we have to take away?
2.
Okay. What's 100 times 12?
1,200.
What's 2 times 12?
24.
Okay. So see if you can find the answers to those problems. What's 980 plus 196? I think it's that. Or do 1,200 minus 24. Do you guys see how they both get the same answer? Now, they both get the same answer, but we use two different we use the same strategy, but we define the unit in 2 different ways. Does that make sense? Both ways work. You just have to figure out which way was easier for you.